had done that, and they had come for a party.
They come.
They came to our house visiting for a party, and then they started poaching her.
While at the party.
Yes, ati Rose bado unakuanga hapa. Oh my God. Then you think
then they ask you questions about how good she is.
You don't pay attention. Then in between the function, they're trying to poach her. So when they leave, she tells me, Magdalene is not nice. Because she told me this, and you're like, what? Then she keeps going. Then she told me, she even called me on Saturday and sent me a message. You see, I didn't spare. I took my phone. I was like, chick, you have very bad manners.
But me, I'd even end the friendship, man.
Yeah,
did you end the friendship?
We
with all
don't talk
three?
that much. Now we're
sure.
on the high-bye basis because I was like, I can't invite you for a party in my house, and that is what you come to
Because such a person can even steal your husband.
Exactly. It's personal.
We are discussing together with you things that can guarantee the death of a relationship between you and your girls. Barbara is very passionate about you trying to steal the house help bit.
That is bad.
Yes. But can you inherit though? Like you have a house help.
You can't just look for your person.
No, I'm just wondering. Like you have a house help, but somehow maybe she says she's retiring, and then you replace the help. Then she goes to Shags. Then she decides she's not keen on staying in Shags anymore. She wants to work. Then now may I take that help
If you take her, please make sure you tell your friend.
before taking
Yeah.
it.
I would rather, if I had an
If you
option
had
of choice, I wouldn't take them. Because there's also the unspoken discomforts that your friend might not be comfortable telling you. For instance, there's things like Barbara was sharing, things you've done in moments of desperation or sheer agony that life presents us with. Say you are fighting with a boyfriend who's an alcoholic who you since broke up with, and then there's just been a lot of drama that she's been privy to. So you, as my friend, taking my help, it sort of exposes me.
Yes.
I can't word it, but it's just weird. Maybe you should just look for your own help and let
It's
this
like
one of
sharing
mine.
a petticoat, a vest, or
Can
a
you take your
panty.
parents for my help?
Who raised you?
Yes, your parents.
Emmanuel,
who
you
raised
have a
you.
problem.
No,
Let's
there's
admit
a relative of mine
No.
who did that.
No, I think.
But your family-
our folks fired the help, and then now this guy took up that help.
No, I think
they're
family.
living happily ever
I think family. I know a friend who was raised by these help until way into was he in high school, and then one time he was just walking, minding his day, and bumped into him into her in town, and they said, "Why don't you come over? Because I moved somewhere and you can help." And we were mekua auntie. But when the parents flew back because they left the country, they picked up auntie wakaendelea.
But I think even if you have to ask
the
yes.
person who actually, I know you don't own them, but just common courtesy dictates that, you know what, tell Eric that, hey, Eric, we have taken Barbara, who used to be your former employee, so that everything is just...
Even your parents, if you're inheriting,
Yes.
you have to ask them also.
Talking about you outside the circle of trust, this really upsets a lot of ladies. It upsets men too, but a lot of ladies. Now, it's never taken lightly when a friend breaks ranks and talks to non-vetted persons about you. Say, Barbara, you're in a team of 6 very closely knit girlfriends. Then one friend decides and tell your business to a chick you barely know. You normally meet in church, say hi, hi, hi. This really upsets women. It's permissible to discuss, say, your friend's recent loss of motivation or terrible new love interest, but not outside of the circle.
Yes.
All right? Men don't really have these circles. We rarely don't. I once tried to bring my friends to get to know each other. And I remember we were having coffee with one, and they were so uncomfortable. I went, no, they weren't uncomfortable, but they were just not gelling. They weren't gelling. I went for coffee with my friend, Dr. Omar, and my friend Ogembo, and I was trying to introduce them, and I was telling them, oh my goodness, I should call Shiko so we just have a big friendship thing. Then I later realized that would have made me happy more than them happy, because I'd be hanging out with all of my friends
At the same time.
But they don't have anything in
Yeah,
common.
they don't have anything in common. So I sense that one of the things that brings a lot of fights in female relationships is some friend of yours getting too comfortable discussing your business with somebody you've not vetted as a friend.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I totally agree with that. It's just, it's an issue of, what's the word? Jumping rank. Like women have, as you're saying, circles and ties.
Yeah.
I have certain levels. I have like my church clique.
Yeah.
I have my family clique. Then I have my besties, those ones of ride or die that you call them, tunaenda malista, I need money, bail me out, So sometimes when you mix them up, as however much they might know each other,
Yeah.
whatever we share in this clique, chama or church, should never move on this side.
Yeah.
And when you find that someone has crossed that, you just feel like they've broken some trust.
Yeah.
So you cannot trust them, because sometimes I don't want my home my cousins and my family to know what I'm doing with these other people.
Yeah, because you want
some
it to
women
hush,
have
hush.
actually, yes. Also, some women have like two personalities. Not that they're bipolar, but there's a personality they carry that when they are going to church and they were in their office. Then there's a personality they carry when they're with their friends. So they don't want that to be mixed up.
No, it even happens with guys. Like Eric, you talked about me with your friends in a nice way, but I felt some sort of way like, why is this guy talking about me with this person? Na mimi sijui huyu.
Yeah.
I felt some sort of way.
Eric,
I'm just saying.
Stop talking about Emmanuel.
No, I'm just saying.
But yes, he says it.
No.
So you feel like how come, because this person is my friend, sasa mbona ameongea na huyu angekuja niambie mimi.
Yeah, no, I think the thing is, it also depends with what has been talked about. If they were discussing your wife, deep details about your wife, that becomes weird. But if it say we are doing a business together that my friend sees me do with you, then they would feel they will kind of opine on the business as it pertains your performance in the business. But I think the deeper details, like, you bibia jamani hivi, that is off. That now tantamounts to gossip, but the other one is different. And then finally, partner nicking, friend B going out with friend A's ex. Friend B going out with friend A's ex. Now, the whole thing is made worse by the, inevitable concern about the privileged information. Let's call you Rhoda. Rhoda is going out with Emmanuel's ex. Let's call Emmanuel Elizabeth. Rhoda is now going out with Elizabeth's ex, and we are in a clique.
That's a sin.
Those 6 of us.
Yes.
Sasa wewe umechukua Rhoda, umechukua boyfriend ya Elizabeth. Ati mna date.
It's a sin. You don't touch your friend's man. You don't touch your friend's ex. It's an unwritten code.
Girl code.
Yes.
Pia kuna girl code.
Kuna girl code. Naziko mingi, but that is a code that we don't touch. You do not kiss. You do not date and you do not marry. If you find that someone has crossed those boundaries, if you check correctly, either one, they never knew about it. That is usually the case. But if one of them knows about it, the friendship sometimes is very strained. You find that they just draw back. They feel like
But
you can't maintain both, right?
we cannot share the same banana. That's what we're
But
trying to say.
I know there are tons of women who sneak behind their
Yes, that
girlfriends
happens.
and they do very heinous things. One time I shared the story here. My girlfriend then, 23, was 23. And very, very foolish. So my girlfriend then traveled to her mother's shags, all right? And then I was in the club kicking it in Westlands, and her very good friend, who used to even come and chapter stories with us in the hostel, all right, in our hostel, was there twerking heavily. So I was like, hey, huyu nani anakuwaga blessed? So then I went downstairs because I used to know the owner of the club, so we used to sit with him upstairs. You unajua hiyo club?
Najua.
Alafu nikaenda chini. So kwenda chini, so I was trying to enjoy the session, and then she was very receptive. So she gave me the business just generously enough.
And you accepted it.
So nika accept. Of course, it was also a very alcohol-induced session. And then it was raining outside. So we went outside, we were making stories, and we had a very good prolongated 7 minutes of intense makeout. Until I felt guilty and told my girlfriend then. I said, to be honest, I made out with Nani.
Were they friends?
Walikosana,
Of
but
course.
girlfriend yangu alinisamehe.
But some
They're very prone, especially if ladies, ladies go and share how nice or good you are.
never share.
So this other person is
Barbara, do
thinking
you
you're
share
an
now
angel.
at the
No.
good age of 22?
Why? Why?
Even if you vibrated kabisa?
Oh Lord. In fact, if I vibrate kabisa, you'll never see that man. Utamwona and go, oh, there's
Maybe you
Eric.
can share to the friends in another continent.
No, maybe you show up in a function.
They'll
yes,
come
yeah.
for you.
Yeah. No, they
They'll
can.
come.
The problem is, the moment they get that contact of that man of mine called Emmanuel, and they become cozy, if your relationship is not solid, somehow someone gets to be sneaky. There are women who are bad, unless you're
But
very
they,
solid.
they
They
think
start
they
sending
think
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Your
requests.
relationship has to be very solid for someone to respect those boundaries.
But do they think that just because you vibrated, they will vibrate too?
Yes, because not everyone is getting what they want. So the best
That's
thing
a
is,
shame.
the medicine is never share good things about you, but just share the worst. Yeah, you should. Emmanuel Unibo, he just stresses me. He's this, he's that.
But how
So they'll
long
not
can
be
you sustain
bothered.
that?
No, my-
You sustain
methodology?
it. It's very workable.
I've dropped a conversation, Emmanuel, just as I tie this up. I dropped a conversation between my mother and I didn't even drop. I mean, I was in the kitchen making myself tea when my mother was still alive. And she told my sister, she said, with your girlfriends, try and be wise, all right? Kachuori okelo ni maua. If your husband brings you flowers, that's your business between you and your husband.
Yes.
It is not a market information.
Yes.
So you keep it with yourself. If you feel so excited, you can call me and share as your mother.
Yes.
But usichukue information kama hiyo upeleke girlfriends. And I thought that was quite wise.
It is wise because sometimes women get jealous. Constantly I'm saying, Eric buys me flowers. Eric bought me a dress. Eric took me where. This builds some level of envy in some women, and they might want to...
At a text Eric.
Yes. Ama ataambia bwana yake Emmanuel, why are you not behaving like Eric?
Yeah.
You get, so some level of jealousy can crop up.
Also,
so
brothers
wise.
sharing their girlfriends' kegling skills with other friends.
But we all know you're lying.
It's not a wise strategy.
That's
like
how
you can say she's good, but don't go into deep
men do
graphic
that.
details.
Men do
Yes,
that.
that's why they steal your girlfriend.
Men do that with women they don't quite value. In the top tier of a woman they would date or marry, they would not share such information.
That is true.
But the one that they would want maybe their friends to also enjoy the kegel, they'll share.
No, I think they also sometimes share initially. Like they didn't know how serious they'd be with this lady. So initially, like, this weekend it was on fire. And then now as they grow closer with the lady, the information starts becoming...
It dwindles.
Yeah.
No,
Both ways work,
that
both ways
both
work.
ways was. But most of the time, if you hear somebody so generous after 3-4 months of being with somebody, they don't care about
they don't
you.
care about the
In fact, I
person.
see women lamenting online about Nairobi when men and how we have very big mouths.
My
and
God.
I always feel like screaming. It's because they're not into you. I mean, a guy who's into you will not care to discuss anything about you.
A gentleman doesn't kiss and tell. The problem
Yeah.
is we have a very good percentage of men who are not gentlemen in this town. Look at how your politicians are behaving even right now. They're just yapping secrets out.
No, Thomas, Siri, Emmanuel, what's happening, man?
You know, speaking of men and sharing, and also ladies, Barbara, I've been sharing the whole week. I've been reading a book by Mike Tyson's autobiography.
Yes.
I've
Have
said
you
it quite a
finished
bit. Yes, I've finished.
Nice.
And I've learned quite a few things about it. And one of the things that stood out is this guy had a problem of, sex. Eric, this guy was a sexual addict. In fact, the theory I formed in my head is this guy was not knocked out in the end from his belt from... by a human being, because he was knocked out by a guy called Buster Douglas after winning for long. So what knocked him out, if you read his book, is, instead of practicing him, he was busy having sex with women, all right, and taking a lot of cocaine. So that's why I have the conversation today. I want to talk about sexual addiction, because I feel like many people are going through, this, and sometimes we don't talk about it enough. So sexual addiction is when you have persistent sexual thoughts that interfere with your ability to work, maintain relationships, and even complete your daily activities. And I had a friend like this, Barbara. I had a friend who you'd hang out with him, and sometimes you have a meeting. So you have a meeting at 2. And he knows you have a meeting, but he'd rather go and enjoy coitus with a certain lady far in a far off place than come for the meeting. Okay, he'd want to come for the meeting, but he'd say he could not leave this thing. And
He needs to relieve himself.
Yes, he needs to. Like, he couldn't control it. In fact, there was once we were in Mombasa, somewhere in Mombasa, and there was this lady who availed herself. Like, they looked at each other. They had this thing going on. So you're saying that he could not, like, he didn't care that he didn't even have a jacket. Like he just said, mimi siwezi wacha, mimi niliingia ndani, you see. So if you hang out with such a guy, you realize this guy cannot control his sexual urges. So that's a rough description of sexual addiction. Sometimes I also wrote my own description here. You feel like having sex after having sex, like someone has gone, they've finished with Madam A, and then between that maybe they get a text from Madam B, and they go and have more coitus with Madam B, and they still have psych to go and do more, have more coitus with Madam C. Like,
do they have the energy for it?
Somehow, some of them are, supermen. They actually have the energy, but like that strong desire to have sex all the time, even after having sex, would be a sign that you're a sexual addict. You have already talked about having sex over a productive meeting or an appointment with a client. That is also a sign, because it's an addiction, Barbara. Barbara. And then another thing, if you're spending the last amount of money you have on a sexual experience, that's a sign that you're a sexual addict. If you look at these things and you look at someone who's addicted, say, to drugs, you'll see a similarity. Like they can't control these things. Like you can take your last money and go and buy drugs. So you can take your last money and you can go and buy sex, because some people buy sex. Or you'll spend your last money buying... Yes, you'll spend your last money buying fare or buying drinks for a lady who hopefully along the way you're going to have sex with that person. So if you also have continued repetitive sexual behavior despite the adverse consequences, and you're still having sex, that's a sign. Like Barbara, this person, venye hata anaka, venye huyu mtu anaka, they look like they have a serious disease. Like you look at this person and you're like, this person cannot be healthy, but you still have sex with that person. That would be a sign that you're a sexual addict.
Is there a rehabilitation for that?
No, we'll get there, Barbara. But I'm just trying to throw out some signs out there. I'm not a professional, but I'm just throwing some lay signs out there that if you can use this, this list, and you can tell yourself, hey, maybe I have this problem. So that you might get the much dreaded a much treated disease or gonorrhea, but you still pay to have sex with this person, and sometimes you throw away even your what's it called, your jacket, and you just plunge in there. And you're like, and then after you're done, you're like, why did I do this thing? Mbona, why? What is wrong with me? That would just be a sign. The thing that is wrong with you is you're a sexual addict. So those are some of the, a rough lay description about someone who is a sexual addict. Eric, I was reading about Charlie Sheen. So Charlie Sheen, a major actor from back in the day, he spent $53,000 on escorts. All right, he was having sex with prostitutes, and he spent $53,000 according to this report. And then he has testified that he has slept with over 5,000 women. All right. So if you look at this, these are not normal things. And then in 2015, he announced that he is HIV positive. All right. So if you look at this statistic, you'll just be like, that is why he ended up getting HIV, because he was obviously careless with all these women that he had sex with. Not that everyone who has HIV has, is a sexual addict, but this is what happened specifically to Charlie Sheen. So as we go along, just before I let you guys react, I want to discuss what we can do if we find that, we are landing in this criteria where you're thinking, hey, maybe I am a sexual addict. And the first thing, Eric, like with all addictions, the first thing that you do is you go to a trusted person and you share. All right, you just go to someone who is you can trust, whether it's a pastor, whether it's a friend, but it has to be someone who's responsible and lead you in the right direction. You just go and share. You say, hey, by the way, mimi niko na issue ya sex. I have a sex issue. In fact, there's someone who said, you are only as sick as your secrets. And that is a saying that originated from Alcoholics Anonymous, the AA guys. So if you keep it to yourself, the likelihood of you getting out of it is very, very low. So just, look for someone in your circles, but it has to be someone who won't judge you, because it might become worse. Then just go and share, because that is the beginning of healing.
When you're talking, I'm trying to ask myself, Emmanuel, what are the reasons that could make someone get sexually addicted or have that problem, if it's a problem per se? Could it be stress levels? Could it be lack of... Because an addiction, there has to be a reason as to why you're addicted to something. Distress, as you're saying, a sexual, or what pushes or what drives. Because I don't think people just wake up and get themselves there. No, they must have been something. I think it's a heartbreak.
I think it's different for different people.
Yes.
Some people just inherit a certain trait from their parents. Like you find from your parents, you've inherited a certain trait, and it could be sexual addiction. Maybe your parents used to do, those things, and it's just in your blood. And then it could be something you learn, because, there are people who are addicted to, say, coke. and they just were at a party, and then people were snorting lines, and they snorted a few lines, and then now they become addicts. So it's you can't say that this is the reason. There are very varied reasons for different people, but once you know that you're an addict, these are the ways to get out now.
But very interesting. When you were talking, I was wondering where the line is drawn between somebody who just excessively loves sex and the addict. Because I'm thinking, if I really, really love and enjoy my sex, they're very similar to that addicted guy, aren't they? Because I can maybe postpone the meeting to 3 o'clock and continue, just have a quick pound before I go to the meeting. What do you feel about that? What are the obvious differences between somebody who really just likes sex, say a libertine, and somebody who is an addict?
So this is how this professionals described it. They said any addictive or compulsive behavior can be categorized with just this simple litmus test. Do you find yourself consistently doing something that you do not want to do?
The difference is that they don't want to do it, but they end up doing it.
It's like they're driven to it.
Yes, so you're at this place, you've just busted a nut, and the person who you've busted a nut with is a total stranger. And you're asking yourself, how come I always find myself in this position? I hate myself. Why am I doing this? And then a couple of days later, you're doing the same thing. That is an addiction.
Maybe as we proceed, we could talk about whether having sex with your hands qualifies as sexual addict. Because I know somebody who likes to wish
self-pleasure.
He wishes his hand WCW every Wednesday, anaekaga mkono yake. No, it's true. Mkono yake unakuwaga woman crush Wednesday. Na anaispread hivi, alafu anasema WCW.
That's a disgusting man.
We are there. She wouldn't, absolutely. We are the adults in the room. I'm in the studio with Emmanuel, myself, Eric, and the Duchess of Ikolomani, and you. And thank you so much once again for choosing Spice FM. Before the break, Emmanuel was sharing with us how you could tell that you just enjoy sex vis-a-vis you are addicted.
Yes, I'm talking about sexual addiction, and I feel like it's a very, very important conversation, Barbara. And I was just sharing some of the signs, and I talked about having sex after sex. You have sex over any productive meeting or appointment with a client, or even date. You know, you'd rather go and have sex with a random stranger than go for the dates that you'd planned to go for with your missus. Do you know there are some people who are married and they're sexual addicts?
Yes.
Like they're...
No, maybe they're libertines.
No. There are some who are libertines, but married and libertine. Okay, that's another conversation. But there are some people who are married, but they have a problem of not being able to control the sexual urge. And it's only that their missus, you know, their spouse, they don't know, but this person anapitia shida sana. And I was mentioning a couple of celebrities who I read about. There's someone else who I read about. His name is Robbie Williams. So Robbie Williams, the pop star from the UK, also had a problem with, you know, sexual addiction, and he's married. He's one of the people who are married with 3 kids, you know, but he had a problem with sex. And one of the things he did, he says that he does not put his head in the lion's mouth. At least now going forward, he does not flirt. And that's one of the things you can do if you find yourself having, you know, this problem of sexual addiction. You have to cultivate new habits. All right. If you know you've diagnosed yourself, you've gone and shared with someone, and they've even confirmed and said, yenyewe hiyo kuna shida hapo. You'll have to cultivate new habits. You know, you have to exercise this new muscle whereby you don't just see a chick and then now, you know, you're ready to have sex and you go and have sex with anyone you come across. Mike Tyson said something very interesting. He said when he was walking on the streets and he had a lady walking behind him with that sound for Barbara, you see that sign, that sound for heels, like that would just turn him on, and he just, you know, it would just switch on that thing. and he'd go and look for a lady. So you have to now exercise a new muscle where you're cultivating new habits, where you're now, instead of running to have sex, you go and you go to church, you go to the mosque, you go golfing with people who are close to you, especially the ones who know your problem, and they're not going to take you to a place where you're going to exercise the sex thing. You go read a book, or you can even go for the meeting where people meet and talk about this problem. I don't know if there are sexual anonymous, like alcoholic anonymous places. You can go to a place where you gather with people who have the same problem.
I have a question. I have a question for you, as a married man.
Yes.
When you get sexual urges outside of your marriage, how do you handle it?
No, sexual urges are normal. Like a sexual urge is a normal thing for a human being. All right. How you handle it is not by acting on it.
Yeah.
So if I
no,
a chick,
I'm not even insinuating.
No. I know. Yes, I know what you're
how
asking.
do you manage it?
I manage it by not acting out on the thing that I've seen. So if I see a chick with very nice cleavage and I'm like, hey, that is on point, I don't now run across the street to ask her for a number, because now if I ask her for a number, the next thing is I call you, we meet on Friday. Then we meet on Friday. So why am I meeting on Friday? Because I've seen the cleavage.
Do you think telling your wife would help?
It would help, although it's not a very popular way of handling it. But I think it would be a magical way of handling it, because you'd go through the healing journey together. You'd sit down together, you tell your wife, and for the last couple of years, I've been having a sexual addiction issue, and this thing is flooring me daily.
Not even the sexual addiction. Barbara, I know you've said to me, Barbara, that if your husband who's married to you has issues, adil nazo, arudi tu kwa nyumba, we utaki pressure, utaki makasirika. I was actually, Emmanuel, talking about, say, seeing a very hot chick and feeling some type of way, and then just being open and telling your wife that there is some cleavage I saw in Kitengela that almost made me stumble.
No, I don't think
you
I'd tell her.
Maybe not like
women,
that.
Not all women can accept that. Imagine, you talked about someone maybe going to church or looking for different things to do.
Yes.
Now imagine you're a Mike Tyson who heels, or the sound of heels just make you or arouse you or turn you on. So you go to church and you find this woman. Yes, she's dressed in hadira, but she's in her heels. So utasikia cock, cock, cock. Don't you think this man is already being aroused? For me, I would say, think about it. There are women who wear heels in church. So the sound of it.
So
yes.
No, it's not like...
What I'm trying to say is, just hear me out. What I'm trying to say is, we are in a very sexual environment. People see sex on different angles. Could be on TV, their mediums, their phone, as they're walking the streets. The issue of that, maybe someone needs, despite exorcism, if it's very extreme, but you need therapy. I feel therapy is the best way to see how you can handle or curb those urges if they are extreme. Because where we are at this place, even just when we were coming to the office, I am a lady and I notice women, the way they dress, and I'm like, damn, girl, you look nice. Your behind looks very pretty in that dress. So I'm imagining I am a woman. I am seeing that. What are men seeing? They see tight ladies in short dresses, tights, all manner of things. So it really takes us, if you find yourself in a very weak point, I think you need more than going to church or
no,
looking
but
for
you're
a
going
sport.
to church for that. You're going. The reason I've said go to church or go to the mosque or wherever.
Or
that's where you're going to get the therapy. All right. You see that koko sound? That is just an example I gave of this guy owning to this story. Because if you don't own up to it, you're not going to look for a solution.
Find where your weak points
yes So if you own up, that is the beginning of the healing process. So you own up and say, hey, me, I have this issue. When I see a lady passing, I go nuts. And some of the places where you can actually get that therapy is your church or your mosque, or someone who's you respect, who you can talk to, and you can go through that healing process. So I feel like the problem, Eric, is we don't own up to this thing. We stay with this
but
thing.
If it's not a problem, just enjoy your life, right?
Yeah.
Just continue having sex, right?
Yeah, if it's not a problem, if it's not affecting your day-to-day work. But if you're in an institution, for example, if you're say married and you're bringing home, like, it's not a problem to you, but you're bringing venereal diseases to the house, that's a problem.
That's a problem.
Like, that's honestly a problem. So you can't say, no, me, I don't have a problem, although I brought some gonorrhea to the house. No.
But
I feel like sometimes you can delude yourself that it's not a problem, and it's truly, if you look within your heart, it is a problem.
Yeah.
So don't try and sugarcoat and say, me, I don't have a problem. Me, I'm just a libertine.
Yes, I understand the part of that. But also, Emmanuel, I feel there's need. There's someone who wrote an article in one of the standards, actually this past week, about people being sexual compatible. And there's a lady who said for the longest, she thought the husband was a sexual addict. But the real thing is this man was not a sexual addict. They were just not sexually compatible. And that sometimes happens.
That's between them as a couple?
Yes, you find one person wants it more than the other. Could be the man or the woman, depending on what. So this other person, the frequency is lower. Like, let me give an example. Maybe you said you're a Saturday person and you're married to someone like me who wants 3 times a week. So you see that could be a problem and you'll be like, this woman likes sex so much, or this man. So I feel sometimes people are labeled by their partners, or they feel sometimes when they don't need to be labeled because you've been a partner, you're like, am I a sexual addict? You might not be a sexual addict, you just are paired with the wrong person.
No.
And that is why you would feel that you want to have the urge. And part of the reason why people are stepping out is because of that. They are not compatible sexually with their partner.
Okay, that's that's within the marriage. So I think that's something that can be sorted. But now if you're having these problems, without the marriage, I think that would be better. And Eric, you talked about masturbation. You could actually be addicted to masturbating. Like, you can't think properly before you go and masturbate, whether you're married or not. That could be a sexual addiction. And how to deal with it very quickly, Eric, just apart from the things I've said, like if you say you're changing this week and tomorrow you fall, like, don't beat yourself up. Just try to solve it how, the way I normally say how to eat an elephant. Just day in, day out, just start the journey instead of giving up and say I can't deal with this thing. Just try pole pole. You're going to make it to Kombela.
Thank you for sharing, Emmanuel. I want to share something with you. I hope it gives you these expressions, Barbara, and you who's listening. Will it? Typically, every male is born with 2 testicles. I'm sure you know that. They form in the abdomen and then drop into the scrotum during the 7th month of gestation, Barbara. Did you know that? 7th month. Sometimes, though, the testicles do not drop and the baby is born with a condition called undescended testicles.
Yes.
This happens for up to, guess what? 2% of men.
Yes.
So unaweza ona mtu hapa tao kumbe akona undescended testicles.
Is there surgery for that? I've been hearing.
I think we'll speak with Mumbi and Brian Obara to get a doctor who will describe to us whether there's treatment for that. But it's a condition that would help somebody be aware. So if you found yourself like that, usianze kushtuka.
Yeah, that's why they say it is safer to check the sex of the baby between 7 and 6 months, because that is when it descends and you can know if that's a boy or a girl.
Absolutely. You are listening to 94.4 Spice FM. With me in the room is the Duchess of Ikolomani, as you've heard. Emmanuel Kisengani is also here, and myself, Eric, of course, all the way together with you until 10 o'clock. We have an amazing show lined up for you. I promise you it is. You want to hang around for so much more. Remember, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle on all 3 remains the same, at Spice FM KE. Please remember the hashtag Adults KE. We also have an SMS short code just for you, 40127. Perhaps you're frying an onion and you're just like, staki kuingia Facebook saizi. 40127 will serve you just right. Are you ready? We're just about to roll in another big way, and I'm so excited. Listen, for hanging out with us from 7 o'clock all until now, I say thank you. Or as my Giriama brothers would say, Nina Muvera. Good evening.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. They are smart, they are funny, and unfailingly entertaining. They are the adults in the room, and they are here to help you be the best adult you can be. Whether it is matters of the heart, finances, or work that's weighing on your mind, worry not. The adults in the room will help you stay winning.
Indeed, 97.6 is the tuner in Malindi. Remember, you can cut this show right now, right away, live. If you simply went through your gadget, be it a phone or your PC, just www.spicefm.co.ke, fast radio station to come alive in a visual format. We value all of your feedback. We've availed different platforms for you to do just that. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at SpiceFMKE. While at it, remember the hashtag AdultsKE. Myself, Barbara, and Emmanuel are going to make sure we read all of your feedback, at least most of them. What is happening on Twitter, Barbara?
on Twitter. Let me
in Facebook, sorry.
Okay, go start with Twitter. Sally David, I see you, my darling. She says, super fantastic. How are you adults in the room? I'm listening from Nakuru. On Facebook, we have Bewa Macha. She's locked in. Molly Yulim say, locked kutoka Dandora. Omolo Bella Etieno, I see you. Millicent Mumbi from Embu. She's locked in. Anne Gadua says, who your WCW Eric? Eric, you're full of surprises. She's tuned in from Isinya. Yeah. Calvin Manyala Wanjala says, my trio team. I missed the entire show yesterday. I was at work, but Leo, Nicole locked. Lena Owana, I see you. And we have someone who had a comment on what Emmanuel was talking about, and Eric also. Jasper Sige says, he's tuned in, enjoying the show with a topic. I always believe in doing things in secret. Do not show or share with your friends about your girlfriend or your boyfriend. That is Jasper. And I like what Jasper is saying. Keep talk, OH. And let's say, welcome back, adults. I'm enjoying the authenticity.
And also on Twitter, Barbara, Camille Kwambai, MPH. She's saying, listening and loving the show. Agree, nannies are too personal to share with friends.
Yes.
Eric Ngala is also on the timeline. He says, Tuesday was great, but the show makes it even better. Thank you very much.
Indeed. We are going to be sourcing out all of your feedback. Keep them coming. We are here together all the way until 10 o'clock. Are you ready? I'm sure you are. Now, would you use a private investigator if you suspected your partner of cheating? That is the question. Would you? All right. Now, if you suspect your partner of cheating, you are either right or wrong. Those are the two options, Barbara. If you suspect your partner of cheating, you're either right or wrong. What length would you be willing to go to confirm your suspicions? That's the conversation we're going to be having tonight. And as we go along, we'll spring a surprise for you. Barbara, quick questions. First, we get it out of the way. You're suspecting him. He's being funny. Would you hire somebody to try and find the truth for you?
Now, at my age, no.
But back in the day, you would.
I would have, yes.
Why wouldn't you?
I always say what you do not know would hurt you. And sometimes.
But you love him and you have 3 kids together.
No, I don't want to know. It will come out. You know, there's a way cheating just comes out. You end up knowing, as where even dishonesty or things just that are wrong always comes out. What is done in the dark always comes to the light. I don't want to.
Chris Rock says that he used to believe that all that goes around comes around, but he's lived to be 50 and he sees that some of it doesn't go around.
For me, I would
say, go around fast enough.
Instead of hiring a PI, I would do it myself. I'll do other things. There are other ways I can find out he's cheating than hiring. I'm not spending my money on that. You cheat, then I find out and I wasted money. No, we're not doing that.
But you've wasted money, but probably saved time.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, because maybe you'd have been with this person, Eric, for 3 more years.
But do I need someone to come and tell me that?
But now you've taken your money because you're very busy up adults in the room. Yeah. Then you've given this person the money. They've gone, they've investigated. Then they found out probably maybe if at all they were cheating still. Then this guy finds out. So you save time. So you've traded money.
You would hire
So
PI.
no, I'm just trying to think about how someone would be reasoning, like some of the reasons. So instead of wasting time and being with you for a longer period and being the fool, I've saved time but lost some little money.
Yeah.
What about you?
You know what I wonder about when at least I know 2 women dumped me. I suspect one or both may have been cheating already before they dumped me. All right. I suspect it's a suspicion. But at least my experience has been that women have the care to come and announce that they are no longer happy in the relationship they're leaving. Okay? They want out. But what I wonder about sometimes when I think about my thoughts in the past, why I was always so fixated about who they'd moved on with, you know. So I think it's maybe just a human behavior that you want to know and measure up. You know, that curiosity that perhaps this person left me because my chest is not broad enough, or because I don't have a nice, comfortable car, or because I don't have enough money. I think sometimes most people go to lengths of getting a private investigator just to assuage these feelings that they have. They want to be shown a picture and they're like, Niki, ameenda kunikatia na mtu anakaa hivi. I think there's some bits of that would lead somebody, even me maybe earlier on in the years, to pay.
And when you find out that he or she was not cheating, how do you feel after that? Because there's also a possibility.
Maybe you feel relief. You
relief.
feel mad relief. Yeah.
But there's no relief because one, you've actually showcased level of mistrust and insecurity in your relationship.
But your
but
partner has not known. See, that's why this is a private investigator.
Oh.
Yeah, you'll never know
guys
that.
are
Your-
not it.
your
But
partner.
internally, you don't feel that way. The moment I start mistrusting you in that relationship and I'm starting to probe or getting a PI for you, then honestly, there's actually something wrong in our
there's some of
relationship.
that.
No, there was what you're talking about, Eric, about wanting to know, right? So I feel like some people want to know because of they just want closure.
Yeah.
Like they want closure. They want to put a face
They want
to
to be sure.
this person. There's someone I know who he's like his wife cheated with some guy with a bald head. Right, so this guy has been really looking for a guy with a bald head for quite a while.
Even when he's driving in town.
Yeah, even later on, like
We have one
even
in the
later on,
studio.
like 2-3 years down the line, he's still looking for the the description that he got about how this guy looks, because hajajua ni nani haswa, and the
Alikuwa
partner has
ananyandua.
not shared this information. That's painful. So I think he's looking for that just for closure, like he wants to put a face to,
Or maybe to
this
shoot the
nasty
guy.
person.
I-
Yeah, that too.
Or maybe to shoot the guy.
Yeah, maybe that, Eric. But I feel sometimes it's not about closure.
And then you start gauging yourself against this
And
other
it's
person.
very dangerous. Let me give an example of myself. I made a mistake of trying to find out the person one of my exes had moved on to. I made a mistake, and I'm using the word a mistake. And when I saw this particular lady, I started comparing myself to this particular.
Alikuwa mrembo kuruka.
She was yellow. I am not yellow. You get? She has long, better hair. I don't have. Me have my own weird style that only God knows. Yeah. You get? I started picking things, and I was trying to imagine, could this be? Then she was what they call a 1GB, very slim. And then the worst thing, this particular lady, when she was in the presence of other people and my child, then she said, me, Lani likes small women because I don't eat bread, I don't eat gluten. Me, I love cake. I do opposite of all this person. So by the time this information got to me, I'd be very honest, I was broken. And this was a few years way later. So I feel it's a very big danger when you decide that you want to get to know this particular person that your spouse is cheating, whether a man or a woman. You will tend to compare and you'll start asking yourself, was I good enough? Or did he, now even I've seen women going to the extent you want to be like that particular woman so that in your head you're thinking, maybe he'll come back if I change. So it's very dangerous to try and do that.
You start comparing yourself to this person.
So sometimes, kama ameenda enda, ukiachwa achika.
But don't you think that if you're hiring a PI, like this is not even to find out if your partner is cheating, this is just for confirmation. You see,
You've been having suspicions.
Yes, you have suspicions, and even you have your own evidence probably. But now you just want this person to confirm beyond reasonable doubt that this person is cheating. So you tell this person, I want photographs. I want you to tell me. I read a story about some lady who said that she wants to this PI to investigate her partner. And then this guy investigated, went to some lojo, and then while there he said, hey, by the way, it's true, this person is cheating. They're even in lodge X. So this lady even dashed there.
See,
Like, so
We're
she
all
dashed
embarrassing
there to
ourselves
confront this person. So I feel, Eric, that many times people hire these people not like they have an idea that this person is cheating, but they just want solid confirmation in form of some sort of evidence, photos and stuff like that. Because you can't hire and, out of just a mere suspicion. You just want to confirm.
Yeah, your confirmation is what is bugging you. If you're joining the conversation, we're right in the middle of it. We are all wondering together and wondering with you whether you'd hire a private detective to spy on your partner if you're suspecting them of cheating. And if at all you've done it before, what led you? There are perhaps other ways you could tell when your spouse is being dodgy. Barbara, a lot of women from my conversation say that men's patterns of cheating are very similar in their behavior.
Yes.
Some have reported that they lose interest in sex.
Yes.
So that the incessant nudge you would have at 2 a.m. on your back with his pole reduces. He
Yes.
no longer has his pole right on your back. His pole is between his legs. And he never seems to come around to ask for any sex. Would you tell with certainty about a way a man is obviously cheating?
For me, let me use the example that you've given. One, despite even their urge reducing, they're not able to. Even if they wanted to give it to you, remember there's someone else that they relieve themselves and they enjoy themselves. And remember, we had this conversation, I think, last week. There's only so much. And women make fun. Amefika mali anatoa hewa. Because you have actually relieved yourself. And the problem with you men is when you get something nice and you like it, you really indulge in it. You forget to leave some for the person who's at home. So even if this, but yes. So you've not left any energy or any oomph in you for the person at home.
So energy levels can be a teller.
Your energy levels are different. You're very low. Then men all of a sudden want to sleep early so that they don't want to be disturbed. So you're thinking, okay, Emmanuel is always on my case on Wednesday, Tuesday. He's not said anything 4 days. He's not touched me. He's not walking up for morning glory. Week 1 passes. And you in your head, you're thinking it's one of those things. And you know, women have this thing, they'll always tell you, we are tired or what. Some of them would say that, but they just want you to push. Wasumbue too. There are women who are like that. Not that they don't want to.
Ile juice inaanza na R. You know that juice? You know that juice online? African Americans love to say it. Some chicks drink the retarded juice. Sasa nataka you've heard that statement.
Yes.
Barbara is saying she has a headache, she doesn't want to be disturbed. In the same breath, she still wants to be disturbed.
Exactly.
That juice is heavy.
Yes, in the same breath,
that is a true urge.
It's a very heavy juice. That if you do not disturb me, I put some question marks.
Yes.
So 2 weeks, Emmanuel, you have not tried, and we know your habit or we know your pattern. Then I'll start having question marks in my head, and this is how some of you are busted.
And what if I'm
thinking
not?
like, hey, what's wrong?
what
with
if
What if I don't have
do
to
too
have sex with you, but I'm just hanging out with this other lady?
What is hanging out?
Like we have not yet had
Maybe-
sex,
maybe
but
I-
I
Your
just love.
interest is
I
not
just love
there.
hanging out with
Maybe
this lady.
another way of cheating could be you just malisia your wife kabisa in the morning and then you go and cheat.
That's how some people
No,
do
but
it.
you're not attracted to her sexually.
Oh, you've
Okay,
choken.
also
you've
another
choken.
thing
Or
that
on Monday. Monday is a good boring day to have boring sex.
that's what you want to do.
Yeah, and then you have sex with your
Okay, let
girlfriend
me
on
give you an
Saturday.
obvious one that works our way.
At your
For
Monday.
me, the
Your
one
Monday
I've used,
sex.
I am very good with scents. In fact, if I enter my house right now, kama walichoma kitungu at lunch hour, I will know. So if I'm with someone, I always say this, I'll tend to know your scents. Even you guys, if you've been in a relationship, you tend to know someone's smell, how they relate. So if my spouse, on very several or different occasions, comes smelling a certain perfume, I know how his perfume smells, but when he's with someone else, even if they shower, his clothes actually smell different. And this is a problem that actually ladies who are cheating with your spouse like doing. They will spray themselves and then hug your husband or your boyfriend tight and they leave that scent in them.
Tip number
But
2, if you're a cheater, you go to Gikomba and buy something. Hapo chini, akisha kuwagu change kwa gari.
Barbara, but-
no, panaba gym tracks.
But people who've generally been cheated on are the ones who can see these things, right? Like a general
No.
chick from Tao who's just had a smooth relationship would not even think of such things like the harufu and like cologne and such stuff. Even to do a
Maybe
random
even
visit.
conversation from your friends. would
Yes,
help.
you hear quite
If
a
you
lot.
you learn from your friend that some of these
Yeah,
things
yeah.
happen, then you come and
Yes.
suspect.
Yeah.
But I feel that the ones who follow these things religiously are people who've already been cheated on. So
But
they
but
have
think
that-
about
you
it.
learn
Think
from
about it,
others.
Emmanuel. Women are sometimes, at least the ones of experience, are very suspicious. Not because you've done anything. They're just like, you, if you ever cheat on me, you.
We have that thing in our head.
It could be a conversation she had in the salon, or her girlfriend was cheated on, and then she just projecting her insecurity on now this faithful boyfriend. She's
Yes.
just like, but then if you do to me what
of a
Tommy
sudden.
did to Nyeri, you'll see you. Mi nitakukata natoka Mkureini. And then now, and then now you are in trouble. We are the adults in the room. I'm in the studio with the Duchess of Ikolomani, Emmanuel and myself. Eric is my name. Would you hire a private detective to spy on your partner? Is a conversation we're having. And guess what? We have a guest. Yes, we do. Are you ready? investigator and people come out to you for all these sort of requests they have.
Yeah.
You are having on publicity. Does that affect your work? Your private investigator work? It's good for business?
Not really, but basically what I can tell you, I personally don't do investigation anymore. What I do, I train people on undercover work. I guide my staff. I meet clients. I charge them. So the fact remains that I was brought on social media by people who I was investigating. And they trying to pull me down. I decided, I told my God, I told my children and my heart, I will not leave social media because people brought me in social media maybe with some bad intention. But I decided to stay in social media so that in case they want to do it again, I'm able to respond to Kenyans and to the world. So personally, I don't do investigation. But I guide my team.
And when you sorry, Barbara, when you started out, was it like tough for a lady to get into private investigation? Because even when I was watching the documentary that came out, most of the people around you, I noticed, are men, just from seeing that.
Yeah, sure.
So is it hard for a lady, to become a PI? And how was it when you began?
Yeah, basically it's hard whereby in most of the community, people believe that this is a male-dominated job. So it was very difficult for me. And to imagine at the same time when I was working back from 2002, when I finished my Form 4, I was still the only lady in my community where I come from, Kirinyaga County. And I was still the secretary and I was leading men. And we were able to recover a rod that was stolen, and at the same time we built a police station that was named after my name. So charges has been there, and sometimes even we are mistaken identity in the line of duty. Yeah.
What drove you to being a PI? Because being a nun is all sanctimonious and nice and proper.
Yeah.
So what drove you to that?
First of all, I do want to say that I was in Karate Girls, and it's like fighting for justice for people is been in me since I was a young girl. Back in my primary school, I was the head girl of Karate Girls. I remember people like Akina Mother Karua were ahead of me, and they also used to mentor me a lot.
Oh, you're in the same school with
the
Martha
same-
Karua?
yeah,
Are
but
you
the-
guys
but